Now, I've gone through Cubism. We need to deal with Futurism as well as Soviet constructivism, but we're going to deal with these two separately. Same section, different movements. Now, Futurism itself pursued many of the same ideas as Cubism in terms of the analysis of form, breaking apart form into its constituent parts, depicting them all at the same time. Equally important to the Futurists was a well-defined socio-political agenda, which we will deal with in the form of their manifesto. Amongst the ideas that they are looking at is they are unhappy with the politics and political decline of Italy. They openly call for revolution, both in society and in art. The Futurists championed war as a means to wash away the stagnant past. They also call for the destruction of museums, libraries, and all other repositories of culture. These structures, they believed, held society back. Artistically, they're interested in the increased speed of modern life, or dynamicism. They focus on motion in time and space, incorporating Cubist ideas regarding the analysis of form, but they're going to apply those ideas of analysis of form, whereas the Cubists are looking at forms that are not moving. The Futurists are frequently looking at forms that are moving. They're trying to use the same ideas to capture movement, amongst other things. Now, in terms of origins, Futurism is an art movement launched by the Italian poet Marinetti in 1909. On February 20th of that year, he publishes his Manifesto of Futurism on the front page of the Paris newspaper Le Figaro. That moment saw the birth of the Futurists, a small group of radical Italian artists working just before the outbreak of World War I. That's important because they're playing off of that impending doom that the German expressionists are feeling, and to a lesser extent the Fauves are feeling. They're playing off the same societal issues. In fact, they're happening at the same time as the Cubists as well as the German expressionists. So we're seeing everyone looking at the same stimuli and interacting with it differently. Let's talk about that manifesto. It's published in Paris in a Parisian newspaper on February 20th, 1909, and written before the Futurist movement actually exists. It's a direct challenge to the French avant-garde at the time, which is why it was published in a French newspaper, and the Futurists are primarily Italians. The manifesto will predate the movement by a little bit, a year or two. We also see a call for war on the old, but this call is made by claiming that war is the world's best, quote, hygiene. It's cleansing. It will eliminate all of those things that are holding us back, libraries and schools and everything else. Instead, they make a call for speed and change and the rejection of all traditional things. To them, going to college, for example, should be about looking forward, not looking backward. You should not be sitting in an art history class. You should be sitting in a class that's going to help you develop new ideas, not look back at the old ones. Now, in terms of their larger ideas, we see a pervasive interest in the city. Now, of course, the city is going to be important. From a futurist perspective, there's a lot going on there. There's a lot of movement, a lot of dynamicism. We see an interest in agitation and in movement of all forms as subjects of their art. We also see an interest in the experience of simultaneous sensations, seeing or feeling something all at once. And a rejection of Cubism, ultimately, because they believe that Cubism becomes too intellectualized, too static. It's too based on these deeper intellectual ideas, almost academic ideas, and they want to free themselves. So they'll continue to use the aesthetic style of Cubism, but they get rid of the analysis. They're not trying to analyze the form anymore. They're simply trying to break it up into these jagged planes to get across this sense of movement and time. They have a conception of reality as emotional and dynamic, and they'll cultivate new art primarily for its shock value. This movement is going out and trying to shock people into following their ideas, or at least questioning the viewer's own ideas. So with that in mind, let's start looking at some of their work.